So the easiest answer to this question is I just didn't enroll them in school. That's it. Homeschooling is, the more I learned about homeschooling, the more I realized it's the default. And the more I learned about how the education system works, the more I realized that public school is a resource and not a requirement, as I was kind of led to believe. When you become an adult, you have kids, you enroll them in school. It's like, it's what you do. Except it isn't. It doesn't have to be. And the best analogy I can give for this is if you think about public school the same way you might think of like a restaurant. As parents, we are required to feed our children, right? We are not required to do so in a restaurant. You can feed them at home. And in the very same way, as parents, we are required to educate our children, but we don't have to use a public or private school to do so. You can educate them at home. And you can also do a mix, right? Like you can have a lot of your meals at home and go to restaurants. And just like me, I homeschool, but I also will use any and every resource that I think is a good one for my kids, whether that's coming from the Department of Education for my state, or something that I'm paying for, like a private resource that I'm paying for, or something that's gifted or thrifted, like whatever I think is good for them is what I will use. So I think that's like the best way I can answer that. Like homeschool is the default. And if you choose not to homeschool, then you must find an alternative. But everybody who has a child is responsible for their education. Now, how you choose to do that is entirely up to you. Specifically for my state, once your child turns 6, you are required to fill out a form known as the Declaration of Intent, and that has to be submitted once a year for as long as you're homeschooling. Or if you are withdrawing from a school in Georgia, you are required to submit the Declaration of Intent within 45 days and provide a copy to your child's school so that they know that you're intending to homeschool. But that's really it. That's how you start homeschooling. And from there, it's a lot of trial and error in terms of finding what resources work best for your kid. I often compare curriculum to clothing so that, I'm trying to encourage people, like, don't get too attached to any one particular style of curriculum, because chances are your child is going to outgrow it, or their style is going to change and you're going to need something different. But that's really the answer. That's how I started homeschooling, and I hope that was helpful for you. Like, I don't want it to come off as like being sarcastic, but I just didn't send them to school.